My name is Olivia Parker, and I live in Chicago, Illinois. Life has given me many things, but it has also taken away just as much. Years ago, when I married young, I believed in all the promises of forever. Happiness, laughter, a partner who would never leave my side. I believed marriage was the answer to loneliness, that love was something permanent, unshakable. But life has a way of changing the things you hold closest. My marriage didn't last. The years of disappointment, neglect, and distance slowly broke me down. By the time it ended, I was just a shadow of the woman I used to be. I told myself love wasn't real, not the kind you read about in books, not the kind that lasts. I buried my hopes and carried on with life in silence. Every day felt the same. I woke up, went to work, came back to my small apartment, and sat in quiet loneliness. Even when surrounded by people, I felt alone. My heart was locked away, and I thought it would remain that way forever. Until one rainy afternoon changed everything. It was late autumn in Chicago. The sky was dark, and the streets shimmered as rain poured down like endless tears. I had forgotten my umbrella, so I ran across the streets, desperate for shelter. My eyes caught a small, warm light glowing at the corner of the block. It was an old-fashioned bookstore, tucked away between taller buildings, almost hidden from the world. Without thinking, I ran inside. The moment I stepped in, the sound of rain softened behind me. The store smelled of paper, leather, and a faint hint of coffee. It felt like stepping into another world, quiet, warm, safe. And that was when I saw him. Behind the counter stood a man. He looked about my age, maybe a few years older, with gentle eyes that carried a softness I hadn't seen in years. His name, as I would later learn, was Ethan Miller. "Rough weather out there," he said with a smile, noticing my drenched coat. His voice was deep yet calm, the kind of voice that made you want to listen. He offered me a towel. I laughed awkwardly, embarrassed at how wet I was. I wasn't prepared for this storm. He chuckled. "Most people aren't. But you came to the right place. A bookstore is always a good refuge." That was the first conversation we ever had, simple, ordinary words. Yet somehow they stayed with me. Over the next few minutes, I walked through the narrow aisles, running my fingers over the spines of books. There was something magical about that store. Every corner seemed to whisper stories of love, loss, and hope. Ethan noticed what I was looking at and recommended a few novels. His knowledge about books was endless, but what struck me most was how attentive he was. He actually listened. Before leaving, I bought a small poetry collection. Ethan wrapped it carefully and handed it to me. "Come back anytime," he said softly. "This place always has room for dreamers." I didn't know why, but his words touched me. For the first time in years, I felt a spark. I went back the next week. At first, I told myself it was just for the books, but deep down I knew it was more than that. There was something about Ethan that pulled me in. He wasn't loud or flashy. He wasn't trying to impress anyone. He was just kind. Genuinely kind. We began talking more. At first, it was about books and weather, then about music, memories, and life. One evening, the rain returned, and Ethan made me a cup of coffee in the store's tiny back corner. We sat at a wooden table, the rain tapping against the windows, and we shared stories. I found myself telling him things I hadn't told anyone, about my failed marriage, my loneliness, my fears. He didn't judge me. He didn't interrupt. He just listened, his eyes steady and calm. "You've been through so much," he said finally. "But you're stronger than you think. And maybe love isn't gone. Maybe it's just waiting to be found again." His words broke something inside me, and I realized tears were slipping down my face. He reached across the table, not to hold me, but just to place his hand gently over mine. That simple touch was more powerful than anything I'd felt in years. Days turned into weeks. I started visiting the bookstore more often, sometimes just to see him. We laughed, shared favorite passages from books, and found comfort in each other's company. With Ethan, I didn't feel broken. I didn't feel invisible. I felt seen, valued, understood. One night, as winter began to set in, Ethan closed the shop early. Come, he said with a quiet smile. I want to show you something. He led me outside where the first snow was beginning to fall. The city lights shimmered against the white flakes. We walked in silence, our breaths visible in the cold air. Finally, we stopped at a small bridge overlooking the river. The view was breathtaking. This, he whispered, is where I come when I need to remember that life is still beautiful. I looked at him, and in that moment, I understood. He wasn't just showing me the city. He was showing me his heart. And for the first time in so long, I felt mine open too. Our connection deepened, not with grand gestures, but with little moments. Shared coffee cups, quiet laughter, the way he always remembered the smallest details about me. He never rushed me. He never pushed me. He simply gave me the space to heal, the space to believe again. Love wasn't a sudden fire between us. It was gentle, patient, like the steady warmth of sunlight after a long winter. And that was exactly what I needed. One evening, as I was about to leave the bookstore, Ethan handed me a wrapped package. It's nothing big, he said shyly. I opened it and found a journal, its first page inscribed with his handwriting, "For Olivia, because your story isn't over yet." Tears filled my eyes as I looked at him. "Why are you so kind to me?" I whispered. He smiled, his voice soft. "Because you deserve it. Because everyone deserves a second chance at happiness." In that moment, standing in the warm glow of the bookstore's light, I knew. He wasn't just a stranger anymore. He had become my light. Love doesn't always come the way we expect. Sometimes it finds us when we least believe in it, when we've almost given up. With Ethan, I discovered that love isn't about perfection or promises that last forever. It's about presence. It's about finding someone who sees you for who you are, scars and all, and chooses you anyway. And so, on that snowy night in Chicago, my heart began to beat with hope again. Not because I had planned it, but because life, in its mysterious way, had led me into a bookstore on a rainy day, straight into the arms of a stranger who became my light.